Hello and welcome to episode 60 of Generation GC, Predictable from the Chronicles of Life and Death, Good Charlotte's third album released in 2004. My name is Molly Hudelson. I'm your host, as well as the producer, creator, and editor of this podcast, and my guest this week is Jer from Emo Trash. Last week, we talked about Emotionless from The Young and the Hopeless, and next week, we'll be talking about a song from Good Morning Revival. Jer is one of the hosts of Emo Trash, a podcast/media brand that supports the bands they love and works to create a scene that can be what it was for them, for everyone. They are an autistic person and professional autistic advocate who is also complete emo trash. During their high school days, they separately thrifted basically every Good Charlotte album from a Goodwill and considered GC easily one of their favorite bands and one of their introductions to emo. Jer and Emo Trash, they just have this amazing attitude that I really think you all will resonate with, this whole idea of being yourself, letting loose, having fun, that I feel like a lot of Good Charlotte fans can really get on board with. So I think you will really enjoy our conversation. I also wanted to say that I love having guests from all around the world and from all different backgrounds on Generation GC. If English isn't your first language, that's okay. As long as you're comfortable holding a conversation in English, you're good to go. I've had a few episodes where I've gotten to talk to people from different countries and maybe English isn't the first language they speak, and it's so cool to me to hear about how you can really connect with the band just across different borders. As I've been mentioning for, the past several months, close to a year really, I'm going to include that mention to advocate for Black Lives Matter, blacklivesmatters.card.co, as well as antisemitism.card.co, which, antisemitism has, I think, in a way become more prevalent over the past few years. And we're also adding the mention of anti-Asian violence resources.card.co. There's been an incredible amount of anti-Asian racism and anti-Asian hate crime over the past, little over a year around, the pandemic and all. And it's extremely upsetting to see how little media attention was brought to it until quite recently. Another thing I did want to mention while we're on our kind of cause a little bit here is that there have been a lot of people speaking up against the troubled teen industry recently. Paris Hilton is one of them. She talked about this in her documentary. Danielle Bregoli, aka Bad Baby, has also recently been speaking up about it. It's all over TikTok, too. Breaking Code Silence, which is the movement that is speaking out against this, they define the troubled teen industry as an expansive network of residential programs and facilities which claim to treat, reform, or rehabilitate what they call troubled youth. But rather than help, the treatment that these facilities offer is oftentimes just not therapeutic. It's not based in science. And there's a lot of, unfortunately, institutionalized child abuse, which can range from physical abuse to neglect to sexual abuse, psychological harm, just a lot of pseudoscientific practices that don't help. They just hurt. To anyone out there who is a survivor, I believe you, and I'm so sorry for what you had to go through. If anyone is not sure what's going on, if they want to learn more, you can go to breakingcodesilence.net. That'll be in the show notes too. And breakingcodesilence.net also does have resources for survivors. So if that is you and if this is resonating with you, please visit that website and hopefully you can find some help there. On a more positive note, I wanted to remind everyone that Generation GC is turning 1 on April 15th, and that's so soon. That is next week. And I'm going to be throwing a birthday party over on Zoom. The link will be in the show notes, bit.ly/GenGC-party. And if you haven't already, please join the Generation GC fan Facebook group. I'll post some updates in there. We'll bake brownies, we'll talk about the book Good Charlotte, the band is named after, and I'll be doing a giveaway for some custom Generation GC mugs. Finally, Generation GC stickers are here. If you want stickers, there's two things you can do. Number one, you can support the show on Anchor. Go to anchor.fm/GenerationGCPod and click support. All of that money goes right back into supporting the show, helping me make it the best it can be. It helps me buy new headphones, cables, laptop stands, helps me print and ship the stickers. Number two, you can make a charitable donation. As I have been for the past few weeks, I really do want to continue focusing on the Asian American community. In line of wanting to help feed people in need, I'm asking people to make a donation to Heart of Dinner. Heart of Dinner is an organization that feeds elderly Asians in New York City who are facing food insecurity and isolation. Their website is heartofdinner.org, so you can go there and learn more and or make your donation. So you're going to support Generation GC on Anchor or make a donation to Heart of Dinner, and you are going to send me a screenshot of your support or charitable donation as well as your mailing address, and I will send you some stickers. Also, make sure you're just keeping up with the show on socials. I will sometimes tweet or post on the Instagram stories, just different ways you can either get involved, make a difference in the world, or help spread the word about Generation GC. Well, thank you for tuning in, and now on to episode 60 of Generation GC.
So, Predictable is track 7 on the Chronicles of Life and Death, Good Charlotte's third album, released in 2004. Track 6 was The Ghost of You. Track 8 was Secrets. It was a single, and not only that, but it was the first single from the album.
It was?
It was, and there was
That's
a fun...
weird to me.
You know what's funny is, like, in my mind, I Just Want to Live was the first single from the album.
Yeah, I would, like, honestly, out of all 3 singles, this would be the last one I'd expect. I would expect either Chronicles or I Just Want to Live to be the lead.
Yeah, but this was the first single, and there was an article on the Today Show website called Good Charlotte Moves Toward the Darkness.
Oh, no!
You know what? But, like, is that not fitting for this song, this album, the music video? I would say it's pretty fitting.
Oh, it's very fitting, and it's just as heavy-handed as the album, which is also very fitting.
Exactly. This song did pretty well on the charts. It reached number 15 in Australia. It charted in Belgium, Canada, number 10 in Hungary. It was number 1 on the UK rock and metal chart. In the US, it was number 6 on the Bubbling Under Hot 100 singles, number 28 on the alternative airplay, and number 20 on the mainstream top 40.
You see, I love this part of your show because I always forget how many charts there are out there.
Yeah,
So
like
many.
all around the world.
What's the, like, Bubbling Under 100 one? What was that?
You know what? We're going to look this up right now. So I have... I think it's, like, the rising singles that aren't on, like, the Hot 100 yet.
Okay, so it's not the ones that are hot enough for the Hot 100.
Okay, so the Bubbling Under Hot 100 is the top songs that have not yet charted on the main Hot 100.
Sure. That's interesting.
There is a music video for this song. It's very good.
We will talk about it a lot.
Oh, we will talk about it very much. This song has been played live a ton. Setlist.fm ranks it as number 11 with 166 plays recorded. If you've seen them at all since this album came out, they've probably played it. But that even seems low, like 166 times of playing this song. Like, I think Setlist.fm is missing a bunch of shows, which, we know. Also fun to mention, it was the first single to feature drummer Chris Wilson on the track, although not the first video he was in, because I think he was in some of the Young and Hopeless videos. And the song was written by Benji and Joel Madden. And we have a whole lot to dive into with this song and the music video. But Jarrett, first, I want to help our listeners get to know you.
Okay.
And the first thing I like to ask everyone is, when did you first hear Good Charlotte, and what were your first thoughts on them?
Oh, gosh. Okay. This is... We're diving in quick, because this is going to be a story off the bat. I've talked about this a lot on Emo Trash, not my podcast, the podcast I co-host or help run. I don't know. It's a podcast I do. I'm Jer from Emo Trash. There you go. But I've mentioned a lot of times on that podcast, I had an entire phase growing up where I got really into buying CDs from Goodwill. And I also had a giant phase where I got really into watching YouTube music videos just for hours on end to pass like time at school. And Good Charlotte kind of combined both of those, hit both of those aspects. I remember I found their Young and Hopeless is one of the first CDs I like ever got from a Goodwill, and I fell in love with it. And I remember I found Predictable's music video during one of my study halls in high school.
Good.
And I don't remember exactly which one came first. I'm assuming it was probably Finding Young and Hopeless. But like, I remember Good Charlotte fit into this wave of bands that I like to consider the, oh shit, they sing this bands, which is when I was like 15 or when I was in high school, I would just find bands and I'd be like, why do I know this song? And it's because they were like vaguely on the radio when I was a kid. So like I found a lot of songs like Boys and Girls was a really good example of that. The anthem, I was like, I recognize these songs. And I really liked it, and I really got into them. And then I found their self-titled at a Goodwill. And I got super into that. And it was like the deluxe re-edition, which is important because that version has the click on it, which is one of the best
song on the album.
And they took it off!
Well, they didn't take it off. They didn't take it off. It was written for the undergrads, which came out after the album had come out. So
yeah, the problem is it's not on any streaming services anymore, as far as I know.
Right. Just YouTube.
Okay, cool. I'm not mistaken. I said that and was like, wait, am I just wrong? But yeah, and it's terrible because I can literally look in my music and see it. Because my album remembers that it was downloaded, but because it's not currently downloaded to the phone, it's grayed out, and it's like, we can't play this.
Oh, God, that's the worst.
Oh, what a painful reminder. But yeah, so I got that record, got super into it, and then I started diving through their music videos at some point during school, and I just got really into them. I started listening to them. I started buying some of their songs for albums I hadn't found. Eventually, I found Cardiology at Goodwill, and then I found Good Morning Revival, and then I found Chronicles of Life and Death. I believe I have a CD copy of every single Good Charlotte record up to Youth Authority.
All from Goodwill.
Yeah, all from at least UCD shops. A Goodwill, a Savers, Salvation Army, something like that. That era of pop punk was all over those stores because a lot of people like grew out of them. And there's a few CDs that you find at every single Goodwill.
So what are they?
Number one, Drunk Enough to Dance by Bowling for Soup. I believe that CD has been at every single Goodwill I have ever been to. I have seen multiples of that CDs at Goodwill before.
What I wonder is that if that album just like cycles through the various Goodwills of the Northeast, like someone buys it from a Goodwill and then they're like, oh, okay, like I like this, but whatever, like and then they sell it off to another Goodwill. I say this to jest because I love Bowling for Soup.
But that makes it sound like a beautiful trail of love where we each get our own memories of that CD and then we give it off to the world. I also have a copy of Drunk Enough. I also have a copy, I believe, of every single Bowling for Soup CD up to like their second most recent one, almost all from Goodwills as well. But Ocean Avenue by Yellowcard at every Goodwill.
Yes.
Weird one. I can't remember what the name of that record is. Give me a second to get the name of this record, but there's a Lifehouse record. Do you remember the band Lifehouse?
Yeah. Of course. I had a very big Lifehouse phase.
Oh, me too. The record that has Hanging by a Moment on it.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, was my favorite song of all time for a very short period of time.
I think it was all of our favorite song of all time, honestly, if we're being real.
I mean, you're making points. I'm not going to lie. No Name Face. That was at basically every Goodwill. Yes. Oh, here's a good one. Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill had at least 2 copies at every Goodwill. And simple plans, no pads, no helmets, just balls.
I don't know where the nearest Goodwill is, but there are like 3 thrift stores within like a 7-minute walk of my apartment.
Nice.
So I kind of want to like go digging and see if any of them have any of these CDs.
You should. I guarantee you'll find at least one.
Yeah, especially in Philly, let's be real.
Fair. But yeah, when I was a kid, I used to just spend hours digging through Goodwills and UCD shops looking for anything that, like, oh, I recognize this band. I'll get it. It's $2. Right. It's cheaper than iTunes.
Yep. Well, I also like to ask everyone, Jer, have you ever seen Good Charlotte live?
I have. And fun fact, I believe if I hadn't listened to your podcast yesterday, I would have said no. Listening to the podcast, I was like, oh shit, I have seen them live. I had completely forgotten. Until I was given 10 minutes to really think about it. Right. I saw them live for my birthday. My ex bought tickets to see them in New York for, I believe, their Youth Authority tour.
Okay.
So like 2016?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to say. And I saw them in New York. I believe I want to say the Webster Theater? That might be wrong.
Youth Authority tour, because I was at this show. Youth Authority tour was at PlayStation Theater in Times Square.
Did I see them at Was that PlayStation?
But that was PlayStation.
Because I know PlayStation Theater.
Webster Hall in 2017, like one of the last Webster Hall shows.
Maybe that's it. Because I know PlayStation Theater well, and I did not see them at PlayStation Theater.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I have seen Bo Burnham at PlayStation Theater, which was a time.
That must have been a time.
It was. It's the only time I've ever seen like a comedian play that big of a venue, and it was an interesting time. I've also seen Boys Like Girls there, which I guess is more similar to Good Charlotte.
Yeah, pretty similar. So Emo Trash is you and your co-host, Robin. So to introduce, I mean, there will be like a good intro at the very beginning of this show that will air, but something that I just wanted to point out that I loved in the episode that you did of Fly on the Call was you had said something on that about like learning about what people love, which just thematically is so similar to what I feel like I do here, learning about the very specific things people love.
Your show's just a little bit more specific than ours.
Yes, it's more niche. So tell me like how you and Robin met and how you started working together and doing this show together.
So, firstly, the core of Emo Trash is most certainly Robin and I, but definitely a big shout out to what I would consider the other third of Emo Trash, which is our lead writer, Ari. Okay. Ari's wonderful. They don't do a lot of our podcasts. If you've ever listened to our sideshow Live from the Trash Court, they co-host every episode of that with us. But most of our writing is done by them. And I just want to give them a shout out. Ari's wonderful. But Emo Trash is definitely at its core Robin and I, and that's kind of how we started. And it's kind of funny because Emo Trash it sounds so stupid, or I guess generic maybe, but it really just started because we wanted an excuse to talk about music. We were in college, we were both part of the radio station, and we learned that we had similar tastes, and we became friends and started chatting. And then the tracing of our connection to this scene kind of goes back to do you know what absolutepunk.net is?
Of course I do.
Okay. Any Emo Trash listeners who are listening to this, please mark your bingo cards. Jeremy has brought up absolutepunk.net. But absolutepunk.net, which is amazing, and I visited literally every day in high school, turned into Chorus FM. It was just rebranded at some point.
Yeah.
And Chorus FM used to do like 50 bands you need to know. And they did one, I think it was in 2017, maybe 2018. They did one where we found the band Super American and the band City Mouth, which are two bands who are on Take This to Heart Records.
Great label.
Yeah. So from that, we started discovering all sorts of bands on that label. And then we started discovering other bands in that scene. We discovered Counterintuitive Records. We started discovering all the smaller labels, all the smaller bands, and we really got into the scene. And we were listening to new music more than ever. And honestly, we just wanted to talk about it. So we started a podcast where we did the first like 6 episodes of Emo Trash are a completely different format where it's literally us talking about a record we have in common and then talking about a record one person recommended to the other. Ooh. And it was literally just a way for us to listen to more music and talk about more music. And I think Robin deserves literally all the credit in the world, because a lot of Emo Trash can go back to one thing he told, or they've told me literally hundreds of times and remind me every time I need to be told, and has gotten us this far, which is, remember, this is supposed to be fun. If it's not fun, let's stop doing it.
I like that.
It's allowed, I don't know, it's allowed us to turn this into something that we truly have liked doing every step of the way, and that we can build something we like doing into something that I hope is important for the scene and important for the people in it.
I love that. I love what you're doing. It's so fun. Relevant, of course, to mention, you had Lilith come on the show talking about Good Charlotte's self-titled album, which was very fun for me to listen to.
Yeah. I completely forgot about that episode.
Even if some of what was said made me kind of mad.
So here's the thing. I was going into this going, oh gosh, am I going to have to break my honest feelings about Good Charlotte on this episode? And then you mentioned about Lilith. I was like, oh fuck, what do they already know?
No, hey, I read the meanest reviews anyone's written about them every day. So like,
that's fair.
And I'm not damaged.
I would like to say my love for Good Charlotte is genuine. I know people like to frame it as a guilty pleasure, and at times I frame some of Good Charlotte's music as kind of like campy and like not amazing, but my love for it is always genuine. I genuinely like these songs.
Yeah, and I feel like Good Charlotte is so... Yes, I would definitely agree with that. Like, campy fits a lot of their music. But I feel like they're so genuine and, like, heartfelt and authentic that it's... I feel like you can't even call it a guilty pleasure because, like, it's so real, you know?
That's an interesting way of putting it. I don't know if I say this on the episode, but, like, I see Good Charlotte as the epitome and the reason it's useless of the word selling out. Because Good Charlotte said when they started, we're making music because we want to be a big rock band. And they made
that's the whole first record, yeah.
Yeah, and they made music to be a big rock band. They followed certain trends. They did certain things. They definitely had certain guests on who they were like, hey, this is a bit like, for instance, The River with the lead singer of Avenged Sevenfold. But like, at no point was that not genuine. That's the game, guys. It's not like they were lying about their songs or anything. Like,
right.
If you're making music to be a big rock star, that's what you're doing. And hell yeah, you freaking do it. And Good Charlotte found a way to freaking do it.
Right. And they found a way to do it and to, I would argue also express a lot of like really real kind of shit.
Oh yeah. Especially if we're talking about certain themes, because I saw in your notes, I was reading your notes for Predictable, and it goes, this song is about their father, and I go, oh, of course it is.
Yeah.
One third of all Good Charlotte songs are about their father, and they're usually their best songs.
But yeah, when you have an experience like that impacts you, like, yeah, it's going to shape you. I did want to shout out also, I don't remember who brought it up on the episode, but someone compared Good Charlotte's, they said that like Good Charlotte's self-titled is to The Young and the Hopeless as The Wonder Years Upsides is to Suburbia, which I thought was a very good analogy. Although, The Wonder Years never got the mainstream success Good Charlotte did, but I thought that was a very good.
That sounds like something Robin would say, and I'd get very angry and be like, oh gosh, you kind of have a point there. Okay. No, it's a really good comparison. I mean, I find the way Good Charlotte evolves very interesting, and I like. I don't know. I see Good Charlotte as they're a band that's cool to dive into because they're so blunt about what they are. Because it's a very clear, like, we're making these songs, so these are the songs we want to make. And you don't have these giant, like, I don't know. Sometimes I like those bands that just have these consistent discographies that you can kind of lean into, because not everything can be really fully explored in itself. Everything needs to be fully explored in its relationship to each other. No one Good Charlotte record really paints the full picture of anything. It's all just Good Charlotte making more songs.
All right, you're hired to co-host the show. We'll talk more later.
Okay. I'm glad my nonsense sounds smart.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Well, before we dive into everything predictable, because there's so much to dive into, I just want to talk a little bit about you being an autistic person in the music scene. I love sharing, everyone's like diverse backgrounds, right? So I was just curious for you, like, what was it like for you just getting interested in music and then starting to go to local shows? Because those are two different experiences, really.
Oh, yeah. So I've talked about this before, but my experience with shows is quite a trip. For a long time, I didn't understand my relationship with concerts, and it's because a lot of things related to my autism. Like, I don't want to get too into like the personal processes I've been on, but one of the greatest things I've ever did for myself, and I say this in full support of anybody who's thinking of doing this. One of the greatest things I ever did for myself was learn about autism, because I was able to figure out why I did certain things I did, or at least attribute certain reasons and understand things on a deeper level. And one thing I understood was a lot of the times I liked shows, and for a long time I didn't go to local shows. I went to bigger shows. Like, my first ever show was Yellow Card. Then I went to Warped Tour. So it was like that kind of size. And I always really loved the times the bands were playing, when everybody was just enjoying the music, and like, especially at punk shows where the crowds would like wave, and like, it wouldn't be a mosh pit, but it'd all flow. Everybody was in it together. It wasn't just people standing around. One of my fondest memories is going to Newfound Glory's Sticks and Stones 10-year anniversary tour, because it was just all people who could not be happier to be there. And after growing up, I realized that that was the true moments of euphoria, like a euphoria that I really only get from that type of enjoyment with music. And for a long time, it felt so specific that I had to be at a show where people were so into it, and I had to be able to let go of myself. And kind of my experience with being an autistic person in the local scene has been learning to let go of that and just enjoy myself as an autistic person, especially when it comes to local shows. There's people who know who I am, people who recognize me, and learning to be comfortable with how I enjoy music has been a huge journey for me. And this might sound a little silly, but anybody who's seen me at a show who's listening to this gets it, because I am truly wild at shows. As of like 2 years ago, when I really learned, no, these shows are mine to enjoy. Let's fucking go. I'll fucking go hard by myself in the front if I need to. Like, bands will routinely like be like, "Hey, that was fucking wild out there. Thanks." Like, I don't know. I try to say this without sounding cocky, because I don't want to sound cocky about it. It's just how I enjoy music. But I guess the best way to explain it is one time I saw A Will Away at their A Will Away. So good. I saw them at their hometown show to support the Soup EP, because A Will Away are Connecticut locals. They actually live very close. We've been to their studio before. They're fucking great. Shout out A Will Away. And I went to see them, and I had my normal experience at shows, and afterwards somebody posted a video online that was like, yo, look at this person going fucking wild in the front. And somebody retweeted that with, whoa, is this like podcast emo or something? And it was. It was 100% me going wild in the front. So like,
I love that.
I'm noticeable with how much I like enjoy shows, and learning to like accept that and be comfortable with going harder than the people around me, and not just in like singing, but just in like, I like moving to these songs. If I'm not in a mosh pit, I'm acting like I'm kind of in a mosh pit. Not with pushing anybody, but I'm moving like that. That's how I like getting into music. I realized that when I get into music, that's when I find that euphoria. And I have more control over that than I ever thought. So a lot of my experience with being an autistic person in the music scene is learning that my experiences and how I enjoy things are different, and I need to be comfortable with that. I'm never going to be the cool guy who's just sitting around who's like, oh, that's a cool band, right? I'm the guy who's going to go too hard because that's how I enjoy my music.
I just want to say, you're talking to someone that has a podcast where they talk about Good Charlotte for like an hour and a half every week. There is no judgment of like how you know, there's no such thing as too enthusiastic. And I love that. Like, and it's, I'm sure it, you know, is then clear to any bands that you're seeing that like, oh shit, this guy loves it. He's into it.
That's the wild thing that turned out. It turns out when you're yourself, people like you for being yourself. It's wild. It's truly a wild realization. But I realized like, oh, these are things I naturally do, and people like it. Like, I'm going really hard, and bands, again, I try not to sound cocky, but at local shows, I average about one recognition from a band to show. One stopping mid-set to go, yo, or stopping mid-set to go, hey, you over there, that's fucking sick, thank you, or something like that. And it like, I don't want to sound cocky because I don't fucking care about that, or at least I don't think I should care about that. But like, knowing that it means that much to bands, knowing that they like, they can see that and they appreciate it. And these aren't just like random bands. When I enjoy myself to a band, it's because I really like that band, and I usually know like every song they're going to play. And then I have friends who tell me that like, oh, it's made it easier for them to enjoy shows. And it just, not to sound like a campy autistic advocate, even though that's exactly what I am, but you never recognize the power of being yourself until you're yourself. You see how much power you have.
Yeah. I can relate to that just with this show and being myself on this show, and how much I feel like people are digging this.
Heck yeah. I was going to say, you talked about how like you have no judgment. I would say, if anything, there's respect. I respect the hell out of what you're doing. A week of an episode of Good Charlotte every week? Hell yeah, that's enthusiasm.
Yeah. It's absolutely, I mean, it has to be enthusiasm, right? To do, you know, this many hours, like,
I sure hope it's not something else, because it must be terrifying if it's something else. It's like, oh no, I'm being blackmailed.
Right. No, it's like 1,000% just genuine, like, enthusiasm. Just last question I want to ask before we dive into Predictable. You know, you've talked about being an advocate for other autistic people. I would just love to hear, like, as an experienced showgoer, an experienced member of your local Connecticut music scene, as well as, you know, the online, you know, music community. What would you tell, like, another autistic person that maybe wants to get involved in music in some way, but isn't sure how to get started, or they're like a little nervous about that? Like, what words of wisdom would you share?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think the advice I would give is start with singular connections. Start by just building relationships. I think, and this is just advice that kind of goes with just being autistic in general, it's very easy to see this as something that's result oriented. I'm doing this to get there. And it's never that simple. This isn't about building building yourself into a music community that you feel comfortable in is never going to be the music community you're envisioning, because it's not something you can create. It's something that exists that you're going to fit into. So I think it's easy to spend a lot of time thinking like, oh gosh, why would I try? Or what people should I be talking to? Or how should I do this? And a lot of times you have to just do something. Just start by talking to whoever seems easiest to talk to. The person who talks to you first at a show, or someone who you routinely see at shows. Just focus on building these things little by little. Build an environment you feel comfortable in. If you go to shows at a venue all the time, get to know the owners of the venue, even if it's just on a polite level. I think a lot of time it can just feel very isolating. Or for me especially, I found that shows could often feel very isolating when they should be the opposite. When the music came on, I felt completely in tune with everybody, but at every other moment, I felt completely out to sea. And for a long time, I thought that was just how it is. I thought going to shows alone was better because at least I could just leave whenever I wanted. But I had to start having those relationships to see the value of them. I had to start understanding hey, going to shows with Robin isn't great because, oh my gosh, it's somebody else who's exactly the same as me and I can do all the same things. It's because I like spending time with them, and now I can do the things I like comfortably and spend time with them because it's somebody who understands me as an autistic person enjoying myself the way I do at shows and understands the extra concerns I have. So
yeah.
It's not an added burden. It's someone who can help me. And I realized my other friends do that. And the bands I know, going to see a band and be like, hey, it's you. And them going, hey, it's you, makes me feel that kind of comfort. So I would just say, if you don't know where to start with the path of least resistance. Find somebody some place, some community to build into. Even if it's just freaking adding Emo Trash on Twitter. If it's adding a different blog or publication, or starting adding freaking Generation GC on Twitter. Just talk. Start connecting and see where it goes.
I love that. Thank you.
I'm glad it made sense. I don't know.
It made a lot of sense. Yeah. Made perfect sense.
I'm usually prepared for these kinds of questions, but you're asking me some really good ones that I'm not prepared for.
Well, let's go into Predictable.
Oh, absolutely.
So we connected on Twitter and you mentioned wanting to talk about Predictable. So why did you want to talk about this song in particular?
So Predictable just always really stood out to me. And I actually found this was really interesting to me because I found in the days leading up to this, me regretting this every day, me going, oh my God, oh, no. Should I have seen about talking about this song? And I couldn't remember if I chose Predictable because all those songs were taken. I remember checking for a few songs. There's a few songs that definitely have bigger places in my heart and history. Sure. Particularly, I would say songs like Waldorf Worldwide, really big song in me growing up. But yeah, and then a bunch of songs off Young and Hopeless because that record just had meant the world to me growing up. Counting the Days is another song that kind of in 1979. Those were the songs, and I think I checked a few of those songs. And I didn't see, and I was like, okay, they're not available. And then I saw Predictable, and Predictable is such a weird song in my life because it's a song that, unlike a lot of other songs I listen to, fell into my life. Where there's a lot of songs that in the days of iTunes, I would be like, oh, I got to listen through every song on this record's sample and see which ones catch me the most. So I know which ones are most worth spending $1.29 on.
Yep.
Cause I only have $15 from this goddamn gift card.
Yep.
And that's why I got super into Goodwill. Cause you could get 12 songs for $1.50 or something.
Right.
But Predictable, the music video, I stumbled upon one day in school. And the more I kept questioning if this was the song I wanted to talk about, the more I kind of realized it is the song I should talk about, because it kind of encapsulates my experience with a lot of this. Just I think it really encapsulates my experience with Predictable the way I chose Predictable. That's what I'm trying to say. Because they both just kind of fell into place. I found Predictable on YouTube by just surfing random bands that I probably watched. Like, I was probably watching the Boys and Girls video, like, oh, I know this song. And I was like, oh, that's a song I don't know. And in this case, I was just scrolling through like, I don't see any ones I really love. Oh, Predictable. I love that song. Let's do that one. And I think they kind of speak to the same thing, and I love that. Because, like, Predictable is a song that's just, it's not a song that really catches me in a way of that I'm like, oh my God, I need this song. Oh, it's going to connect with me on this deep emotional level that I'm going to remember forever. It's just a song that's kind of tailor-made for me in being a good epic rock song. It has a lot of little touches that I just really like. And I think that kind of also encapsulates my love for Good Charlotte, where a lot of it is just the little unique spins they put on things that I've heard, on styles that I've heard, and them adding their own little touch to it.
I think the strings, like the fact that like they had just put out their breakthrough album and then they follow that up with this, and this song starts with like that weird string intro, like that is punk as fuck.
Thinking that this is the lead single, like, damn, they were really going all in on that theatricality. They were like, now we're a theatrical band. Don't you hear the strings?
Right. We're a goth band.
Yeah. Oh God, seriously. That's probably a much better way to explain this record. It's a goth record through and through.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know, Predictable is just such a fun song that, like, I don't know, every time I return to it, I'm just like, yes, this is a banger.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot of things about it I love.
Well, let's talk about what it means. So I want to hear like your interpretation of the lyrics. I'll share what I think it's about, and then we can dive into, some backstory on what the band has said.
Hell yeah. So I kind of just always saw this as a song about relationships and kind of like how that relates to personal growth. I never really connected it to their father or an exact situation until I read your notes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of silly in retrospect, I guess. I guess by this point in time, I figured, you know what? If they're going to sing a song about their dad, they'll probably name him. Well, they're clearly not afraid of it.
Yeah, and there's nothing in this song that's specifically like pointing to a specific person.
Which I think is kind of the idea. I think it's supposed to be this broad, big rock song. I mean, there's not a lot of lyrics, and there's not a lot of specific lyrics. And then you have the bridge, which is just very much kind of that.
It's like a confrontation.
Yeah, it's that voicemail-esque thing where it's just like them talking into a phone. Like yeah, where it was a trend for a good amount of time, where that like talky part. But like, I always saw this as kind of a song of coming to terms, I guess is the way to put it, especially the end where it's like, I'm ending this right now. And I think the video relates to that. The entire video is just like, I watched the video before this and I thought it was funny because it's literally just walking to a phone booth, screaming at somebody, and then the video's over, which is kind of, I think, what I always interpreted the song as, just kind of pushing yourself to closure, fighting for closure, and getting it.
I like that, fighting for closure. So without being too like, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, I think this song is about, abandonment, right? And how when that can become like a pattern in any kind of relationship, how and whether that's a friendship, a romantic relationship, you're, a family member, how that can be damaging, and how you come to expect not just that person to leave, but you just expect that everyone's going to leave, right? That's what I get out of this song, that it's yeah, maybe it was written to or about a specific person, but really it's kind of about the way, a past experience affected you on a deep level.
No, I like that a lot because it doesn't feel very specific. When they're talking about it being predictable, it doesn't sound like they're saying you did this again. It sounds like it's this force in their life. Like things are going to go wrong in my life. That's how it is. And that really connects to what you're saying. Like once these things happen enough, you're just like, oh, these patterns aren't patterns. They're life. They are the thing.
Yeah.
And it just becomes this wall to fight against. And that's kind of what this, even in the chorus, it really sounds like just like, what's even the point?
Right. I knew it all along. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. We're interpreting the hell out of this song.
Yeah. Well, this song, like we mentioned, there's a New York Post article that I'll read a portion from. So, on the surface, it does sound like it might be a quote unquote romantic relationship song just because like so much of music is about like romantic relationships, right? But this was, I guess, written about Benji and Joel's father. And Benji in this article is just talking about how it was really difficult for Joel to record the spoken word bridge because it's so personal. He says it's draining that when you sing a song, it means so much to you, and every time you sing it, you feel it and those emotions come back.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like, I don't know, it's very visceral, that bridge.
Yes. The bridge to me it's very much the confrontation, like I am gonna, and like, frankly, I get it. Like that idea that you might confront the person who, whatever they did, the way they left, impacted you in such a way that you might confront them and say, this is what you did to me. This is how I felt. This is everything I've experienced as a result of you leaving and abandoning me. It's definitely like a temptation, right? To do that confrontation.
Yeah. Although I think it's really funny because all I can think about right now is just, hey, Dad, I'm writing to you, which is just completely the opposite.
Yeah. And we had like a discussion on that episode, which Jerry, you haven't heard yet. But Angela and I had a really nice discussion about how, like, there are, again, this is me being like, I have a BA in psychology, like, as if you aren't, studying for a master's in psych. So you're smarter than me.
But I make no claims.
But Angela and I had a nice discussion about emotionalism. We just talked about how, like,
is Angelo from
Spinning Thoughts.
Oh, I was about to say it, but I wanted to make sure. Oh, that's awesome. I love Angelo.
Yeah, he's great. But we had a really nice discussion just talking about how, like, any kind of loss, whether that's like, it could be death, it could be a romantic relationship ending, it could be a family member that's not a part of your life, it could be a friendship that ends. Any kind of loss, you go through stages of grief, right? And emotionless is like a very content stage, right? Predictable, I think, is a little more wounded, a little more volatile, a little more like, all right, like, I'm pissed. I'm pissed about this. I'm going to lash out.
That's fair. One thing I think is really cool about Good Charlotte is the fact that this might sound mean. I do not mean it. I literally mean it I don't mean it in really any way. I just find it interesting.
If it's too mean, we'll cut it out.
Fair. Well, I think Good Charlotte's, a lot of their more meatier songs come from this topic. They return to it fairly often. It definitely seems to be like, I don't want to say they're bread and butter, but it seems to be like the emotional core they return to the most. And
it's definitely something that shaped them, that shaped Benji and Joel.
And one of the only prominent non-relationship based emotional cores that I think flow throughout their music. And I think by doing that, by not having their albums really represent different eras of their lives, but by kind of having just releasing, as I was saying earlier, just kind of another batch of songs that they wanted to write at this point in their life, it kind of makes it that pretty much every album has like 1 or 2 songs about their father. And because of that, you can track the evolution on how they talk about these ideas in such an interesting way. And I think it's so cool.
Yeah. You can, it in a way, it kind of makes the records timeless, like in a sense, for me anyway. And I think it is cool. And that's like definitely something as like someone who, you know, wrote about music for a long time and now is podcasting and has, you know, made her whole life about all this. Like, it's really interesting. Like, it's just fascinating to me to like on a kind of like professional, like academic level, I guess, just to see like how a songwriter's writing on the same topic has evolved over time, right? Because you can kind of see like how A, how their emotions evolved, and B, just like how their skills evolved and in which way they're going to tell the story at that time. And it's, I feel like it's important to say, like, it's possible to have multiple, sometimes even seemingly conflicting emotions about the same person, about the same event. Like,
I mean, I'm just looking through right now, and Complicated is about this too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I was 100% sure, but I didn't want to say it and then be wrong. So we have like Complicated, which goes into emotion. I would say which goes into the story of My Old Man. Hot take: one of the most underrated Good Charlotte songs.
So it's such a catchy song.
I listened to that song last night and I was like, oh my god, I forgot how great this guitar riff is.
Right? It's so good.
I also I think it has a mimic. This is something I used to think about all the time. It has basically an exact mimic of a Yellow Card song. So this is going to be weird, but give me a second.
Life of a Salesman?
Yes. Life of a Salesman is the 5th song on Ocean Avenue by Yellow Card, released a year later, also about a father, very similar guitar riff basis.
Okay. You know,
they're similar songs. They're both the 5th song. They're from the same era. They're a year apart. I just find that interesting.
I know that Yellow Card song. I love that Yellow Card song. So I think that's an interesting one to mention. That's
but so then you get Story of My Old Man into Emotionless, into Predictable, and then then I don't really know if they go into it on Good Morning Revival, but then eventually you get 1979.
Yeah.
And like that's an arc. It is an arc. Maybe not even an arc, but like it's nuanced. It's interesting.
Yes.
There's complicated feelings there.
Yeah. No, the nuance is cool, and I would say like another big, not to like totally derail, but like, you know, you mentioned that you had listened to the episode we did on the anthem, which is like kind of another big emotional core of Good Charlotte's music, this idea of like just feeling like you don't fit in, pervasive from the first album, you know, Little Things, The Click,
the first single,
right? Festival song, even the anthem, Young and the Hopeless, even going on to Youth Authority with the outfield, you know.
That record's super underrated.
It's so good.
That's another hot take I have.
Honestly, it's not a hot take because it's just facts. Stone cold facts.
Exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome. So did you have any like other specific memories or stories that you wanted to share about Predictable?
Gosh. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have any. I have one story that I don't. It's not really a story, but something I want to mention because I've never mentioned it before. But it's great. There was that one time I was on a cruise with my family, and I did karaoke, and I sang "Hold On" by Good Charlotte super emotionally, and then went to get off the stage in front of all my new friends and tripped over the sound equipment and face planted.
You know, it's good that you did a nice upbeat song. on your cruise ship karaoke. Yeah.
I was falling to the ground just hearing, hold on. I was like, I'm trying.
It is hilarious.
It was quite ironic that I sang an entire song like, I'm doing it. Oh no. But I don't know. Predictable just really reminds me of it's one of the most prominent songs that reminds me of that time in my life where I would just sit in study hall, or not study hall technically. I think it was technically a corrective. It was for kids who had like extra difficulties. So we had computers, and I would just sit for hours looking through music videos. And I remember watching the like Predictable music video, the I Just Want to Live music video, the the Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous music video, the Little Things video, just like nonstop. And it's really interesting to me because like that wasn't a great time in my life, but this is some really nice nostalgia to return to. Just this feeling of comfort in these songs that like I would just find and be like, holy crap, this is my kind of music. And there's so much of it out there.
I love that. Yeah. I'm glad it was able to be like nice nostalgia for you. Well, let's talk about this music video because it's very, very good.
Yeah.
This was filmed in Toronto, August 2004. And once again, listeners, you might remember when we did an episode on A New Beginning, they talked about how the Edward Scissorhands soundtrack was a big influence there.
Okay, I literally realized it was obviously Edward Scissorhands about an hour ago. I don't know the last time I watched that video, but I don't know how I never noticed that.
So I've never seen Edward Scissorhands. I feel like I should, and that I should like live stream myself while watching it just for the sake of the show. But I did, like, I listened to the soundtrack before doing an episode on A New Beginning, and like, yeah, like that song sounds like Edward Scissorhands soundtrack very much.
What you should do is you should live stream you watching that movie, and then every 30 seconds you should be like, this is just like Good Charlotte.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Exactly. Twitch.com/GenerationGC, right?
I love it.
So basically Joel is kind of walking down the street. That's a cartoon at first. The drawings are all done by our friend Billy Martin, and then it becomes real life. People are standing on the street. A little girl gives him a rose that turns black. I think that's my favorite part. Billy has like a lemonade stand, but it's like black.
Yeah. Again, heavy-handed is definitely a word to use to describe Good Charlotte.
Yes. And then they're in one of these like bizarre, creepy, weird-looking houses. And it is raining outside and like leaking inside. And the sky is like bright red. This is not just any storm. This is an emo storm.
You better beware.
Yeah.
It's so vibey. I love it.
It is. It's so much.
It's so much is the perfect way to describe this video. Like you watch the I Just Want to Live video and you think, oh, this is a lot, but this is just like as much, just in a different direction.
Yeah, and the I Just Want to Live video is like so clearly like the I Just Want to Live is, creating this fake band that's making fun of their lives, right?
Yeah.
This is like, no, we're us. We're just like turning the dial up to 11 or maybe like 12.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's very in line with past. Like I watched the Little Things music video again recently,
so good.
Earlier, and I forgot how emo that video looks. Like there's so many like clear like gradients and stuff put over it to make it look like super fucking emo. And like watching Predictable, I'm like, yeah, this is just they're still doing this. This is just like. What if I think this video is most similar to Chronicles of Life and Death, where it's just like, what if we just used all our resources to do exactly what we want to do?
And honestly, is there anyone out there that would say they wouldn't do that?
Hey,
no,
like,
you would all do that if you had the chance. If you were Good Charlotte in 2004 and you had, Epic Records money and you had this like goth Charlotte record, yeah, you would film a music video where you're walking in the rain and your swoopy black hair is in your eyes and your eyeliner is like melting down your face. Like, yes, you would do the same thing.
Honestly, that's the greatest point possible. You're completely correct. That's exactly how we should all view this music video. When you watch it, you shouldn't think, is this good? You should think, would I have wanted to make this myself in 2004? And the answer will always be yes.
Yes. Well, okay, so here's the big question on this music video. So, like, there's a lot of eyeliner. Joel is wearing a lot of eyeliner. Benji is wearing a lot of eyeliner. He's also got a bandana kind of around his neck. That was a look. I like
that bandana. It's pretty good.
Billy is wearing some eyeliner. And it's also raining, right? But what I want to know is, were they wearing waterproof eyeliner? Or did they have to, like, keep probably redoing the eyeliner between takes because it melted off?
Oh,
because it kind of seems to me like the eyeliner is, like, melting off a little bit. Like, I don't think this is some, Urban Decay 16-hour long-last waterproof eyeliner.
For a second, I thought you were asking in universe, and I was going to be like, they're emo gods. Of course they don't have to worry about silly problems like that. But,
no, I'm asking on, like, a practical level.
Yeah, in terms of the music video, that's actually a great point. I mean, how much... I don't know if this is a weird question, but I didn't really pay attention to how much of the rain was real. I don't know how much of it was, like, actually raining and how much of it was, like, hoses and stuff, because I'm sure you could get away with a lot of that stuff in the type of music video it was. A lot of stuff was, like, very, camera tricks and stuff. I don't know. Maybe they're also emo gods in person and don't have to worry about our silly problems.
I'm looking this up because I have a vague memory of this song, the video for this song. It was like, it wasn't like the rain wasn't planned, it just rained.
Oh wow, the world was like, oh, Good Charlotte's filming a music video, we got to add some emo.
Right.
I respect it. You know what, world?
I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know if that's actually true. We're just gonna go with that the universe
true
was
in
like,
my book.
Yeah. Well, we've got a really good article from MTV.com that we got to shout out. Here's the headline: Good Charlotte's dark new video has a bright side.
What?
And Billy is saying that the video concept shows two sides of the band, two sides of our album. There's a dark, twisted room where we're playing in, where it's thunderstorming and everything's out of proportion. And at some point, Joel goes outside and the sky is perfectly clear and it's like a nice neighborhood.
I don't know if I've ever watched this video thinking, oh, that's a nice neighborhood.
Well, it's like...
It's not really the vibe I get.
No. It's like haunted, but like too, like Uncanny Valley kind of, like too picturesque.
That's actually a better way to put it, but I was thinking very like Funhouse Mirror-esque, especially when you get those last shots with the phone booth. But I think Uncanny Valley is a great way to describe it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the video?
I really like it. I like videos that like it's something I never really thought about before I started like actually getting into like music enough where I'm talking to bands who are making music videos. But when I was a kid, I always thought like, why aren't these like videos so elaborate? Like, why does only one thing happen in them? And it's because like when you're storyboarding your own song, you're like, ooh, and then this like you don't want to like make it like a full story. You want to capture what the song's about. And I find it funny that this video is literally just him leaving a dark room, then walking through this town as things get weirder and weirder, getting to a phone booth and going, man, fuck this. And then it's over. It's such an interesting storyboard for the song. And I think it really takes that to its full effect. It makes everything feel as disorienting as possible to really bring that to life. And I think that's really cool. Yeah. It's a simple concept executed very extravagantly.
There you go. Well, have mentioned that this song was used in a commercial for Donkey Konga 2, and that the band members appear in the commercial.
What?
Yeah, they're like playing Donkey Konga 2 backstage, I guess, and the rest of the band leaves, and then Billy is just chilling there, like he still wants to play.
What a weird song to include.
I agree. Because it's not what I would have said. Oh, this is the song that like Good Charlotte would have in a Donkey Konga 2 commercial.
Yeah.
But I guess this is like, I guess Donkey Konga 2 was like, hey yo, we want to put Good Charlotte in this video. What song are they pushing right now? And they were pushing Predictable. That's my guess of why that happened.
That makes sense. It's just so funny to me, the idea of like going into Donkey Kong and hearing this like emotional tribulation song. Like Christ.
Right. Alternate versions of this song. There is a Japanese version of Predictable. It was a bonus track on the Japanese version of the album. I'm pretty sure you can get that on Amazon, but you know, you're probably gonna have to pay a lot of shipping if you are anywhere that is not Japan. So heads up. But you can also find it on YouTube. Benji sings this one. He sings the verses anyway. The chorus, the chorus and bridge are still in English, but Benji speaks Japanese, so he speaks the verses. That's
cool as shit. I miss when pop punk bands did that. There was a while when that was a really big thing when pop punk was mainstream. I remember. Do you know Simple Plan that well?
Oh, do I ever?
Do you remember the record Get Your Heart On?
Of course I do.
I fucking love that record. Grew up on that record. They released the lead single on that record was Jet Lag, and they released like 4 different versions. They released a French version, but then they released like
like a franglais. Like wasn't there like a half French, half English one?
No, there was one for like I think there was one for like an Eastern Asian country. They were like
I think you might be right. Yeah.
Different, and they all included a celebrity from that.
Yes, from that. Yeah.
Yeah, we have this one's featuring Kelly Cha. Then you have the one featuring Natasha Bedingfield. Then you have the one featuring Mari May. Yeah, so there's 3, and I assume the Kelly Cha one is the other one I'm thinking of. No, it doesn't say what version it is. Oh no, I thought this would be easier. I'm sorry.
No sweat. I'll put it. I'll find it. I'll try to put it on the playlist at the end.
Okay, yeah. They're clearly speaking an Eastern Asian dialect. So I think that's really cool. I think it's cool that like they recorded these 3 different versions for these 3 different places, and like that these songs are truly unique to them because they sing them in their language. I like that. That's so cool to me.
Yeah. Well, what of course I had to do was I looked up the Japanese lyrics of Predictable. They were, transliterated into the English alphabet that we use. So what I did was I took those and I put them through Google Translate, and I'm going to read you what I got from Google Translate for the first verse and then the second verse of Predictable.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm just going to write the like Japanese to English Google translated. I'm not going to like read the original lyrics because if you're listening to this, you know those.
You know them. We're not going to even tell you.
Right. Something is wrong. I'm feeling again. It's not the first time I've been in love. She wants to look good. I knew it was going to be. I don't know why you put it in. So that's the first verse.
It kind of sounds...
Second verse. Words that don't have a bad word. I can't even answer the words. With or without. I did what I should do. I'm going. What I got. I don't need it. So... I was like, that's not super on par, right? But I was like, I have to do some research. Like, I gotta find someone that speaks Japanese that can like actually look at this for me. So, shout out to, I hope I'm saying your name right, Leanne Winkleman, friend of a friend, mutual friend, connected us on Facebook when I posted that I was looking for someone who speaks Japanese. This is what Leanne said. So yeah. That's about as spot on as it gets. Pretty direct translation. I will say, though, that in my opinion, it feels a bit clumsy in some parts, trying to keep a translation literal while making it flow the same way as the original English can be a challenge. but the pronunciation was good. I looked it up afterwards to see if he actually spoke Japanese, and he does.
Huh. That's super cool.
There you go. It's actually like a very good translation, and Benji Madden's Japanese pronunciation is excellent.
What a world!
There you go.
Losing my mind over here.
I know.
That's really cool, actually. Why wasn't that on the regular record? I would have loved if you put that on the regular record. Just like predictable, except the verses are in Japanese. Let's go.
Right. I think there would be more interest of it in Japan.
Well, yeah.
For obvious reasons. And you can get, I have the Youth Authority Japanese version. I have a couple Pentimento Japanese CDs, I think. Yeah.
Gosh, I'm sorry, I love Pentimento.
I love Pentimento too, so much.
I miss them.
So much. Other alternate versions, we gotta mention the Greatest Remix by Razi High Power. I don't know. I really don't like Greatest Remixes.
I don't even know. Yeah. What is that?
So Greatest Remixes came out in 2008, and it was like a bunch of remixes. It was mostly remixes. There were two new songs. And it was a lot of like remixes of Good Charlotte songs.
Wow, I don't remember. I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, I don't like it.
There's a Patrick Stump remix of Little Things?
Uh-huh. Yep. I love the song Anxiety, but like most of the rest of Greatest Remixes, I just like,
War is on this record.
Yeah. So there's two songs called War. There's that song, War, and then there's a different song called War on Youth Authority.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to make of that.
I know you've got some research to do.
There's an Academy is remix. I'm sorry,
but the best is the Metro Station cover. The best is the Metro Station cover.
Oh, Metro Station's on this? Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Is it Keep Your Hands Off My Girl?
No, it's Dance Floor Anthem.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, I had no idea this existed. What the fuck?
Well, let's read some reviews of the album that talked about this song.
I am truly in awe. Like, I am impressed that you do this for every episode. Because God, people are jackasses when it comes to Good Charlotte.
People are jackasses, but I have known that for 18 years, so I've had a lot of time to like bulletproof myself, right?
I like it.
So we're gonna read the Guardian's review first. They gave it the album a 2 out of 5. It looks like even success can't bring a smile to the self-hating Madden brothers.
Excuse me?
Good Charlotte's confessionals are typical teenage moans, and their music secondhand Green Day. Predictable lives up to its name. Joel's voice turns from sarcasm to temper tantrum rage.
I wouldn't really disagree with any of that, but I would say all that.
Because there is kind of like sarcasm. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say all that and then give it 3.5 stars. I just don't understand the 2-star rating with it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, it's radio rock written by pop punk stars, man. What do you want? I'm sorry it's not American Idiot. Like, come on.
Right, which also got plenty of, like, not great reviews, so
fair,
whatever.
Also fair.
New York Times was not
Why did New York Times review this?
I mean, they were a pretty big band, and probably some New York Times entertainment writer was like, hey, actually, I love Good Charlotte. Can I please write this? Or they, probably they assigned the youngest writer to write this, or the one weird emo kid, who knows?
Get that emo kid in the corner to write about this Good Charlotte record I keep hearing about.
Right. But most of the surprises here are unpleasant. The disc is full of ham-fisted experiments with string arrangements on the bombastic lead single, predictable synthesizers, piano. Surprise, sure, I would disagree that it's unpleasant. But
yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I disagree with unpleasant. Ham-fisted not the worst word. I do think this is one of their weaker records because it's a little more, no, this is what we're doing.
Right.
But like, I agree. I think it's all interesting. I think because of that, it's also one of the more interesting records.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
A user Docky on albumoftheyear.org had a really fun review. They said, "What just happened? So like mature pop rockish Good Charlotte that has a lot of orchestration in some songs with way better lyrics, better performances, and some kind of ambition. What?"
See?
And they said that Predictable was one of their favorite songs and gave it a 100 out of 100.
Well, hell yeah on that, but I don't know. I think this isn't that big of a step up from Young and Hopeless. Young and Hopeless has some good, solid lyrics on it.
Yeah.
I am the disagreement person. I disagree with everyone, no matter what.
I get the vibe from that review, though, that person, like, had it in their mind that it was really uncool to like Good Charlotte, and so, therefore, Good Charlotte sucked.
That's fair.
So, they were surprised when this was good.
That's fair.
I'm kind of reading between the lines.
I read it more as they were someone who liked Good Charlotte, but was like, "Ooh, is it cool to like Good Charlotte?" And then this record came out, and they're like, "Oh, it's cool to like Good Charlotte."
I don't know if it's ever been cool to like Good Charlotte, but
it's always been cool in my book.
Right. Thank you.
And that's all that matters.
So, couple rate your music users. Skinny Robbie gave it a 3.5 out of 5 and said there's nothing really wrong with it. S and L gave it a 0.5 out of 5. Said that this song is predictable as it claims their girlfriends were in high school. I don't think there's a more predictable band out there than these guys. Which, you know what? Like, if I didn't know anything, like, I would definitely assume this was about like a romantic relationship, right? Like, fair. Just because that's So I don't think that's like a bad assumption at all.
I think this part of the show is so interesting because it's it's such a time capsule, because you have to remember these aren't people talking about Good Charlotte now. It's people talking about Good Charlotte like 10 years ago.
Right. It's not even 10 years ago, 16 and a half years ago. This album came out.
We were at a very different time. Nobody even knew who 21 Pilots was.
Right?
Music was different.
Ultimate Guitar users were pretty favorable. 29 positive reviews, 4 mixed, and 4 negative reviews. One person said their sound is like no other, and I don't own an album that has the same style to it. My favorite song is Predictable, and then Chronicles.
Interesting. That's... Hey, more power to them. I've just never considered Good Charlotte lovable because of there's no other band like them. I think they make a music very attuned to the genre and have their own little touches.
But they kind of like, I feel like they kind of combine a lot of different things. So they have a lot of elements of things that other people are doing, but not necessarily anyone is doing all of them, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Let's read a couple YouTube comments. The 78 says, I bet when rain was pouring down, every single one of you tried to recreate that phone booth scene. LOL. True.
That's a solid comment.
TikTok Mariah freaking Carey said, who's listening to this during quarantine? Childhood memories. I remember the making of on MTV.
Oh gosh. I believe one of the people of Good Charlotte had a Cribs episode.
Yeah, I think it was Benji. My brother watched it and he told me about it. He was like, Benji Madden's house has like a lot of black.
All those Cribs episodes
sounds about right.
All those Cribs episodes were weird because you saw they lived in you. Every episode always ended with you going, okay. Because like when people get rich, they just start like liking weird things.
Mm-hmm. Not to like totally derail, but Drew Gooden, who is a YouTuber, he did a really great
video. The new video where he goes through rich people's houses.
Yes.
The video's so good.
So good, yeah. Listeners, it's Drew Gooden. Rich people have bad taste, and he just like looks at really expensive houses and makes fun of them. And it makes me feel better about renting a 1-bedroom apartment instead of like buying a multi-million-dollar house.
I would like to put forward the theory he gives in that video, which is amazing, which is at a certain point, more money means your house gets nicer. And then at a certain point, it just means your house is more nonsensical and uglier. Which,
it's called fuck you. It's called fuck you money when you have so much money that it doesn't matter if something is good looking, if it's fancy, if it's usable. You have so much money that you spend it because you can. Because fuck you, that's why.
What a world we live in.
What a world.
Great video, though. I might watch it after this.
We'll read a couple song meetings comments before we close.
Okay.
Rennie337 says, I'm not a big fan of Good Charlotte, to say the least, although I have to say this is a pretty good song. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Is that it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. User Q said, this is one of the crappiest songs I think I have ever heard. Good God said, this band is mostly for suicidal, wrist-slitting fools. I like this one song, but I hate Good Charlotte. They're a bunch of redacted, but the song's okay.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I don't know if this joke will land, but QAnon's really always been wrong. That was a joke because one of those people was Q.
Yeah.
And he was wrong because this song goes.
Last comment we'll read at the drive-in. Good username.
Ooh.
Never mind the fucking bollocks. Here's Good Charlotte. Lyrics are some of the best from GC yet. What the freaking hell must there others be like? If you people like punk, please listen to blah blah blah, the Sex Pistols. I'm sorry, the Sex Pistols were like assembled in a factory, so go off.
What the fuck?
Yeah, go off. I Sex Pistols, that's I enjoy the Sex Pistols. I like the Sex Pistols record. I listened to that record a lot when I was 14, 15 years old. But also Good Charlotte is more punk than the Sex Pistols, but that's a discussion for another day.
That's quite a discussion. I would love to hear it.
I mean, I will say that Good Charlotte started their band. The Sex Pistols were like kind of assembled. So there's that. But Jared, this has been so great. Like, I have so enjoyed talking to you, as I expected I would. And as we wrap up, I just want to ask, how has Predictable held up for you over time?
Oh gosh, this very well. This has been such a blast. I mean, revisiting Good Charlotte, I was kind of curious how a lot of it would hold up, and a lot of it held up extremely well. Like, not only did I remember basically all the words to every single song on Young and Hopeless without even trying, but like, these songs just still hit me in that right way. They're big, bombastic, loud, emotional rock songs. And they hit you the way they're designed to hit you. And they hit you well, because Good Charlotte knows what the fuck they're doing when they write these songs. And like, I don't know. It's a nice place to return to. It's between the like steadiness of it, because it's these people who know what they're doing, writing the songs they want to write routinely, and the nostalgia. It feels like a home base type thing. And I think Predictable really encapsulates that, because it has the epic strings, it has the interesting bridge, it has just the sound that I really like it's kind of funky and like boppy, but it's very emotional and rock. It does all the things that I like from my radio rock songs. And it was cool returning to it, that all those things were still there and I enjoyed them just as much.
Good. I'm so glad it was a fun return for you. What has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and how has that changed?
Oh gosh. That's a good question. Well, for a long time, Good Charlotte was just one of my bands. It was one of the bands I defined my music taste with. Something that I liked most of what they had put out, and I could listen to pretty much any other songs and know it, and sing along. And like, that changed over time, because I definitely like grew out of the reasons I liked Good Charlotte, or I guess I grew out of that scene and that meant I kind of grew out of Good Charlotte. When Youth Authority came out, I got really into it, but I wasn't the biggest fan of Generation RX. So kind of my relationship to Good Charlotte for the last since I graduated high school has been a little tenuous. It's kind of had its ups and downs, but that kind of just solidifies them as kind of like this home base. It's not something that I have these giant like relationships with that either like ebb and flow and go through a huge highs and lows, or something that's just always there in the background. There's something that I continuously engage with, and the way I engage with changes, but I kind of always end up back here engaging with it again.
I love that, and I'm so glad you are able to keep coming back.
Thank you. This has been so wonderful. It's been so great getting to talk to you about this and explore these ideas and my love for this band, and hearing about your love for this band.
Yeah, I literally never get tired of talking about them. If I did, I would have a hard time doing this podcast.
You'll notice right away.
Right. Well, do you have any last words about Predictable, about Good Charlotte, about Emo Trash, or about yourself?
Oh gosh. If I said something tonight that didn't sound right, you're right. I probably fucked up and said it wrong. I'm doing my best here. I love Good Charlotte, and I hope it came across how much I love Good Charlotte. Like, I started Emo Trash because I love music. I love listening to music and talking about music and showing how much I love music. And it's been really cool to get to do that with Predictable. And if you want to hear more, I guess go listen to Emo Trash. Yes.
Start with, definitely check out the episode with Lilith on Good Charlotte, self-titled. I'll definitely include that in, some of our posts about it. Probably when I tease the episode, I'll be like, all right, so this episode's going to come out in 3 days. And while you're waiting, go listen to this.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Jer, so some of the songs that we've mentioned in our discussions, I'm going to have to add, but we have a Generation GC and Friends Spotify playlist. So I'm going to add Predictable. I'm going to add the remix. And then I like to add a recommendation from our guests. Just anything you are enjoying lately.
Oh, any song.
Anything that's not Good Charlotte. Yeah.
Holy shit. Oh, damn. I was going to name 7 other Good Charlotte songs.
Right. Well, the people that are following the playlist have heard those. So just anything that's not Good Charlotte. Yeah.
You're sure they haven't heard Last December yet? You're sure?
Right.
Oh gosh, what have I been listening to lately? What would I want to add? You know what? I'll add something relevant to something I brought up. So earlier in this episode, I brought up Take This to Heart Records and how I discovered the first bands I really discovered in the scene were Super American and then City Mouth. Well, City Mouth released a record last year, and it was my favorite record of last year. It is a pop record by a band that's been a pop punk band, but it's now going full pop, and it's absolutely delightful. And I think you should add the song Wednesday. By City Mouth. It.
I just have to ask, since you've mentioned Take This to Heart record, do you know Dead Leaves?
Yes, vaguely.
I went to school in Ohio, and I won't go into whole route. I went to school in Ohio, so I knew them from their old band, and I love them very much.
That's awesome.
Very, very nice boys. Yeah.
Take This to Heart has all the best bands.
Oh my god, they have so many good bands. You could do a whole podcast just talking about a different Take This to Heart artist each week.
Honestly, really could. Next week, Sonderbombs. See you there.
Yes. Jer, so what's the best way for people to keep up with you and Emo Trash?
The best way to keep up with us is on Twitter. We're at Podcasts Emo. That's where kind of our main base is. I tweet way too much. I'm not tweeting the most right now because I'm in school, but I still am on Twitter way too much. You can find us.
We're not going to tell on your professors if you tweet during class. Don't worry.
Please don't. If they haven't seen it already, then it would not help.
Right.
But yeah, I'm on Twitter. I try to support the scene and support bands as much as possible. So if you follow us on Twitter, you'll get tons of band recommendations and recommendations of other great podcasts, blogs. I just love supporting this scene and all the people doing great work in it, like this podcast right here. You can listen to us on any podcast player at Emo Trash Podcasts. You can find us on Instagram at Emo Trash Podcasts. You can find us at youtube.com/trashghost, where we have a joint thing we do with Lonely Ghost Records, where we post bedroom sessions by a bunch of cool artists we love. And yeah, besides that, like, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to what I have to say about how much I love this band. This is my favorite thing to do, and I'm glad there's still people who want me to do it.
I this was so fun, and literally there were a lot of years of my life where I did not hear or connect with a lot of people who loved Good Charlotte, so I'm kind of making up for that now by talking to like a lot of people about how much they love Good Charlotte, which has been very, very good.
Yeah. Heck yeah. What a life goal. I support it.
Honestly, it's been great. Well, Jer, this has been wonderful. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Please listen to Emo Trash if you haven't already. Last week, we talked about Emotionless from the Young and the Hopeless. Next week, we'll be talking about a song from Good Morning Revival. Ooh. My name is Molly Hudelson. I've been your host. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, POD, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, MHUDELSON, on Twitter and Instagram. Please make sure to follow, subscribe, rate, review Generation GC on your preferred podcast platform, such as Apple or Spotify. And please tell your friends. And oh, by the way, join the Generation GC Fam Facebook group. Come hang out. Let's be friends.